here's the deal. Like, I love this guy's channel, and even though it's funny as fuck, like, he does give some really solid points here. So let's see what he's got.
What up, warriors of fartness? I bet you don't have the slightest clue how to play this eyeball-melting anime game. Oh, sure, you probably know that you can beat up enemies by clicking on them until they die, but do you know how to find a...
Okay. I do button smash quite a bit, so that is... Like, you can hear me smashing the key. So I'm guilty.
Static in your FC to help you prog... Ooh.
Static Shock reference, I love it.
I bet you don't even know what any of those words mean, so sit down, shut up, and eat your gissel greens, because I'm gonna teach you what thee mayhap not knoweth, thy noobliness. Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy.
I missed this song. Oh my god. Static is a raid group? Oh no. Alright, by the way, I understand that if you are playing a tank character or a tank class in an MMORPG and you're a new tank, things might be confusing, things may be very frustrating at first, and guess what? You're doing God's work because nobody wants to do the job that you're doing. Being the tank, everything is on your shoulders. If you pull too hard and you make the wrong play, it's on you, buddy. So it's a pretty stressful job. I did tank for a little bit in World of Warcraft and back in the day for a couple of years, and I decided at the end of the day, fuck this, I'm not doing it. So at this point, I play DPS. I'll take my 10-minute queues or longer because the role of the tank is not always the funnest. And yeah, it's just like Overwatch. And tanking in Overwatch is 100% not fun. So to those tanks out there who are tanking, thank you for doing the job that nobody wants to do. Here we go.
The tank is the person in the front lines of every group, leading the charge to inevitable party wipes, which is because you are the most important person in the party, having slap fights with the boss since everybody else is way too squishy to handle the puss-pounding patty cake. You'll never see Jimmy's soft boots eyeing up the cloud of darkness with his 2x4 and scriggly tree branch. But how hard can tanking be? Turn on your tank stance, do your 1-2-3 combo, and blame the healers when you die, right? That sounds like...
Alright, there's two types of tank players out there. They're the ones who don't pull enough, and they're very, very passive and scared. And it's like going through the dungeon or the raid itself is a slog, and it's just so like frustrating because you're like, we have the resources to just throw into you. Like, I remember when I played Reinhardt, I was like I would have like I was always like, hold W, let's go. I pretty much told my Ana to shove her rifle up my ass and just pump heals into me, and I was like, just fucking pump it up my ass, dude. This is what we're doing, right? That's the kind of tank that I am. But the problem is that like, you may be willing, but the party isn't willing to either. In World of Warcraft, it was kind of the same. I'm pretty much a whole W person, but I digress. I stopped having fun. But there's two types of tanks. There's the ones who are just going in Leroy Jenkins style, and the ones who are like, I'm too scared to play the game. So you got to find the balance between the two. But the ones who are like too scared to play the game, you just got to hold W. And if you're too aggro, hold W more and hope that your team picks their shit up, and that's how the tempo should be played.
Somebody who needs their short Q privileges revoked. Firstly, tank stance. You turn this on to start gaining enmity. What's enmity? It's where you shout at the bad guys, "Hey, hit me!" They'll be paying attention to you so long as you're dealing damage, so you better be dealing damage and not just having a staring contest. If you don't, then they're gonna start indiscriminately charging at the rest of the party like a dog in a movie theater. If you are the designated main tank, or in light parties, the only tank, make sure this is on. If there is another tank in the party and you are the off tank, make sure this is off, unless there's some other bad guys you gotta pull. If you have conflicting stances with the other tank, they will chuck their shoulder pads at you. As a tank, you should make sure the bad guy's ass is facing...
Oh, dude, having two tanks is rough. Like, can you imagine, like you got your co-pilot, like, you're ready to go, and if your tank is not on cues for, like, pulling whenever you need to pull the aggro off the boss, and they're just not on their A game, it's like having a drunk coworker that just is not there. And it's like one of the most painful experiences when your co-tank is just like, I'm just not here right now. I'm just in La La Land. I'm just kind of throwing out my experiences of tanking and how much I didn't enjoy it, and the shit list goes longer and longer. But yeah, that's a thing.
Facing the party as often as possible, as indicated by the bright glowing half-eaten donut underneath the target. This is so that if the bad guy sneezes, you're the only one getting down with the sickness. And also, if your party has anyone playing any jobs that particularly likes to clap them cheeks, you've provided a bright shiny spanking space. On top of this, as a tank...
Alright. I'm glad that someone else is saying clap cheeks, because I literally have been saying clap cheeks forever, and I have not found people to normalize it in my communities or my friends. So please, clap cheeks when you can.
You are, by Heidelin's blessings, horrible at dancing, which is why you should move as little as possible once you've got the enemy's attention. That way the party can continue to whap the wumpus without having to chase down the bad guy's glorious booty. Just as well, because you have control of where the baddies are, you control how useful everybody else is. So if somebody puts down a useful AoE, stop fucking running away from it. Now that you have the baddie's attention and are in a nice cozy poking position, you don't have to worry about anything else, right? Ah, that's what I thought you'd say, you dumb fucking horse. Believe it or not, when you die, it's not entirely the healer's fault, just mostly their fault. That little bit of responsibility you have is based on how well you can juggle mitigation. What's mitigation? It's the buttons that make the bad guy's slaps hurt less that you sometimes press once a subscription and never think about again. You ever wonder why you have several of those buttons that all seem like they—
Dude, okay, here's the thing. Here's my biggest problem is I want to zone out and I want to do my rotation and I don't want to give a shit about reactive cooldowns. But that's just kind of what I do. I zone out and I don't give a shit, and that's why I sucked as tanking, because like you have to kind of catch the reactive cooldowns to be effective, because if you're dead, you know, everything's on your shoulders. But like I just found it boring. I want to stand there like a prissy bitch and I want to do my DPS rotation and I want to move every 100 years when the fucking AoE flies my way. I don't want to move. But as a tank, you're doing the Cupid shuffle like the whole time, and I'm like, you know what? That's not for me. So I just want to be. I'm gonna stand there and be like, it's not my job. I don't want to do anything about it. That's me. So that's another reason why. I'll admit it. Reactive cooldowns and positioning is boring. But what is fun, for whatever reason, in my brain is standing still and just DPSing hard with my rotation.
they do the same thing. Well, that's
I am the worst.
because you're supposed to space them out over the course of a fight so the healers don't have to sacrifice their entire mana pool and firstborn child to get your frail ass through the dungeon. Remember not to bust your tanking load all at once, or else you're gonna feel a lot of shame when you're all out of juice and the boss still wants to go about 4 more rounds. Every tank also has a press X to not die button that can be used to survive any devastating attacks, or if you're a really aggressive paladin who drew every enemy in a dungeon ever and don't want the healer to hire a hitman on you. As for what your limit
That's my kind of tank. Just pull the whole dungeon. We'll figure it out later.
break does, tanks are thicker than the average Disney mom, to the point your honky chonky
What?
man on you. As for what your limit break does, tanks are
Wait.
thicker than the average Disney mom.
Alright, so I'll leave this here for a second, but okay, Pixar knew goddamn well what they were doing. This is incredible.
To the point your honky chonky donkey bahonky extends to the rest of the party, protecting them from damage up to a whopping 80% at LB3. The thing is, unless you're a high-end player, you'll probably be using tank LB as frequently as a good player rolls high on loot. Overall, you have 4 flavors to choose from: punk, grunge, metal, and Christian rock.
Did he say Christian rock? Yo, do we have any Christian rockers in chat right now? Let me know. Christian rock. My favorite. I may become a Christian rocker if I ever try to tank in the future.
There's warrior for big axes, big anger, big self-healing, and if you like to do fell cleaves, again and again and again and again. If you prefer more brooding than cruding, the Dark Knight is great for doing your best guts impression. You get a huge-ass sword, goopy black energy particle effects, and the literal best mitigation in the entire game, but it's balanced because they get the worst invulnerability button in the entire game. You press it, and then it makes you die. Gunbreaker is called a tank, but everybody knows it's just—
Wait, what? I heard about that though. You kill yourself, but to come back with more health. It's the Death Knight, closest thing to the Death Knight, right? I forgot what it does, but like I heard about that. I need to like do a full-on extensive like in-depth guide of like all the classes and see what they do.
just 3 DPS in a trench coat as designated by the fact you get a fucking gun and your swings explode. But you have to be a hardcore gamer since it requires a lot of cartridges. And finally the Paladin, who tries to pretend they're a healer and caster, but only when the other healers and casters are looking. But fuck all that, because the most important thing is that you get the motherfucking sword and shield, baby! Try getting behind this wall of holiness, bitch! Now you know how to play tank, you're welcome.
Alright, dude. It's good to know that shit hasn't changed from WoW. There might be different mechanics in different types of things, but the systems are, or the basic gameplay ideas are still the same, and it makes me happy. Look, if you're my tank, pull the whole dungeon, I don't care. We'll figure it out as we go, okay? We're gonna figure this out as we go, but please, for the love of God, if you're my tank, don't just be like, ooh, I don't know if I can go any faster, I'm a little scared. Just go. Pull that shit. Hope for the best, and if we die, we go again. We go again.